the United States of America at half-staff, calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist.
You don't have to agree with Charlie Kirk. All Charlie Kirk did is he promoted free speech, and he did it in a way where he debated people. If you didn't like what he said, you didn't have to listen to it, but it didn't give somebody a free pass to go and assassinate him.
Black Americans are worse off today per capita.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You agree with that? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Than in the 1950s.
The things he was saying wasn't necessarily false. It was coming from a white guy.
I'd love to see a situation where 80% of black kids are born to parents who are married. One man, one woman for one lifetime.
If Charlie Kirk said it, it's racist. But this man says it, and it's real. Let me see if I can find this one last video before we wrap it up, because there is a positive thing happening right now. And so I'm gonna show you guys this one last video, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Ryan Tillman Show. It's your boy as always. And first and foremost, thank you for subscribing to this channel. It means the world to me. Before we get started today, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, but most importantly, turn those notification bells on so that way you guys can get notified anytime we drop a new video coming your way. I'm not going to lie to you guys, my friends. Today was very, very difficult to discover, try to determine what type of content I wanted to bring your way. I was thinking about bringing you guys back the regular scheduled programming with the police breakdowns, but I just couldn't find it today. It was still kind of hard for me, given how heavy this week was with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And I think my emotions have been all over the place. Today's Sunday. I think it is September 14th. And like I said, they're all over the place. So one thing I wanted to do today is I wanted to do one last video about this week because I think it's important, and I think we are headed in a good direction, but I wanted to evaluate some of the events that have occurred after his death. This Sunday today was a very unique day simply because I've been watching a lot of videos recently and about how the church showed up today. I mean, there were more people in church than a lot of pastors have seen in a long time, which is amazing if you ask me, because what happened this past week with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, I think it really woke some people up to the fact that people are under attack. Christians are under attack, and we need to stand up and fight for what we believe in. But with that, there's also been a lot of contention coming from the other side. People saying that, mocking his death. There have been people that have been praising his death. And it's just been quite crazy, if you ask me, the fact that we have people in this country that are willing to do those things. But at the end of the day, I'm excited to see the revival that is coming. I actually just preached a sermon this morning, and I was taken to the first book of Genesis, actually going at the end of the chapter of Genesis, or end of the book of Genesis, when Joseph comes back, or Joseph's brothers come to visit him, and when they see him, and Joseph tells his brothers what Satan meant for evil, God used it for good. I think what the enemy tried to use for evil, God is going to turn around and do it for good. And we're seeing that. I actually saw some atheists come out and say that they went to church for the first time and received Christ. At our own church today, we had somebody drive 2 hours who's never been to church and receive salvation. When I lost my father from MS years ago, I said that if one person were to receive salvation through my testimony and the testimony of how we got through my dad's death, then my dad's death was worth it in the end. Because I know my dad is in the presence of our Lord. And so for me, it made my dad's worth it if one person received salvation. And I'm saying the same thing for Charlie Kirk. If one person were to receive salvation because of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, then I'm sure if Charlie was here today, he would say the same thing. His death was worth it because he's in the presence of our Savior right now. And that person who was led to Christ through this incident, that situation was all worth it in the end, as devastating as it is. But what I want to do, without going too much further down the road, I saw a few videos that I wanted to kind of talk about today because I think it's still relevant. Now, when I talked about the contention that we have seen as it relates to why a lot of people don't like Charlie Kirk, even within my own friends and family group who were not fans of Charlie Kirk, a lot of it was centered around the fact that he was a racist. Some have called him a fascist, and some have said that, he's just flat out evil. And the reason they're saying that is because like I've said in past videos, Charlie was very unapologetic about his beliefs and the way he delivered it. But I've learned in my adult years to cut through a lot of the ways things people make me feel and actually try to listen to what they say. What I want to do is I want to watch a video really briefly about what a pastor said from the pulpit today about Charlie. And then I'm going to show you another video that kind of counteracts what this guy was saying. And then I'm going to give you guys my opinion. So let's watch this first video.
And I do not celebrate the killing of anyone. Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be assassinated. But I'm overwhelmed seeing the flags of the United States of America at half-staff, calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist and spent all of his life sowing seeds of division and hate into this land. And hearing people with selective rage who were mad about Charlie Kirk but didn't give a damn about Melissa Hortman and her husband when they were shot down in their home tell me I ought to have compassion for the death of a man who had no respect for my own life. I am sorry, but there's nowhere in Bible where we are taught to honor evil. And how you die does not redeem how you lived. You do not become a hero in your death when you are a weapon of the enemy in your life.
Whew, I got to pause it right there. So this is layered. Number one, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm insensitive. Maybe I'm dumb. I don't know. Maybe I'm dumb. But I choose to believe I'm not dumb. I believe I'm pretty educated, and I can recognize somebody who's racist when I see one. What's interesting about this is, like I've said, as I've met Charlie on multiple occasions. He's a good dude. His wife is a good dude. And a lot of times when he was talking pure facts. And not facts from his own state of mind, but facts that you can go look up, historical facts. And the way he delivered it made people uncomfortable. And I think, so to call him a flat out racist is unacceptable, I think, because number one is there's a lot of people in the Black community, in the Hispanic community, and all these other communities that had a lot of respect for him, despite some of the things he was saying. And it's because the things he was saying wasn't necessarily false. It was coming from a white guy. If I said the same things, many of the same things that he said, nobody would call me a racist. And you can't call me a racist because it's not racist, the things that he was saying, as I'm getting ready to show to you in a second. But the other thing that I found interesting about this video, and the next part I'm going to say, I want you guys to hear me closely when I say it. He just said at the very end of the video that the way a person dies should not make them a hero, and it should not overtake the way a person lived. The reason I find that comment very interesting is because it wasn't but a few years ago when George Floyd died and everybody across our country was burning everything down, and they called him a hero for the movement of this police and community relations. Everybody was calling this man a hero. But when you look at his track record, and I don't normally do this because I've always said, and I've said it to the very end, is I always say that we can't always just take a person's track record and just try to label them as, this way when there could be things that have changed. And the only reason I say that is because from a biblical standpoint, God did that a lot of times with people. You can look at the thief on the cross. But for this example, I want to use it. According to this man's same narrative, this pastor, whoever he is, according to his narrative or according to his theology, then we should have never even looked at George Floyd in the way we looked at him. And to make it even more personable, as I actually have met George Floyd's brother, really good dude. I liked him. We connected. We had a good conversations. And so I'm not taking anything away from or trying to damage anybody, but according to his theology, George Floyd was not a saint. by any means. He had multiple arrest records. He had multiple track records for doing criminal stuff, and he wasn't complying with police when he died. And again, we can go on and talk about the way he died. Now, I truly believe that the officers could have handled that situation different, and I'll be the first to tell you that. But the way they portrayed it and the way people, they went out into the streets and they vandalized people's property. They hurt people. They were hurting police officers. The way we burned our own state down. You can't sit here and say the same thing about Charlie Kirk or this thing about Charlie Kirk and not feel the same way that you about George Floyd. I mean, according to his theology. So if his theology is true, then they should have never been doing the same thing for George Floyd. There shouldn't have been any murals or statues for George Floyd based on the way he lived. So that's where I hate the hypocrisy in a lot of the things that we're seeing, a lot of the narratives that we're seeing, because it's like this double standard. If it happens against us and it's, all heck breaks loose, but if it happens to somebody else and it's, we brushed it under the rug. No, I believe that no doubt about it, you don't have to agree with Charlie Kirk. All Charlie Kirk did, whether people like it or not, is he promoted free speech, and he did it in a way where he debated people. And if you didn't like what he said, you didn't have to listen to it. But it didn't give somebody a free pass to go and assassinate him. He spoke a lot of facts, which I'm about to show you in this next video. But I had to pause the video at this moment in time because according to this pastor's theology, then we should have never saw what we had happen a few years ago when George Floyd died. Should have never seen it. Because what we saw a few years ago is they celebrated this man's death as if he was a hero and negated his whole past and his whole criminal record and completely forgot about it just because a white police officer took his life. That's an issue with me. That is a huge issue with me because now he's saying that we shouldn't be promoting Charlie Kirk as some hero and negate everything that he stood for, which if you look at Charlie Kirk's life, he did live an honorable life. He lived a life that was promoting freedom of speech, whether people like what he said or not. And that is what it is. You didn't have to agree with everything he said. So let me show you the other side of the argument of why, somebody's going to call him a racist, but then Charlie Kirk himself is going to spit some facts. And then I'm going to use that to kind of break this whole, everything I'm saying, I'm going to use that to break it down. Let's watch the next video.
Black Americans are poorer today in 2024 than they were in the 1950s.
Yes. Why do you think that is?
Good question.
I'm going to pause. I'm going to break this down. I'm going to keep going back and forth to break this down. The way he says this, if you don't know Charlie Kirk about anything, a white guy saying Black Americans are poor and stuff like that, just the way his delivery, one might say, man, who is this random guy talking about the Black community? But let's continue to listen to what he's saying.
So we have the Civil Rights Act, we have more benefits, more government programs. Something changed between the 1950s and 2024. So there's two answers to this question. Either America got more racist since 1950s to 2024, so like that 70-year period, because Black Americans are worse off today per capita.
Yeah,
than
I would
they
agree
were.
with this.
You agree with that? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Than in the 1950s. Or there's another explanation, and I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, which is I think you would acknowledge that the disappearance of the Black father has been the number one driver of Black poverty in this country. Now, there are reasons for that we could.
What do you think the reasons for that are?
Well, culture is one. Would you agree?
So actually, let's go back to the foundations
you say school
of that
to prison
culture.
pipeline, all that stuff. But can we at least agree that Black dads not being around is a bad thing?
Anyone's father not being around is a bad
No,
thing.
of course,
not
but
specifically.
75% of Black youth are not raised with a father in the home. It's the highest of any group in the country.
Was there anything about what he just said that was false? You see, what people are missing is the message that he was preaching right now. It is a hard pill to swallow, especially coming from a Black man. It is a hard pill to swallow to know that people within my own community, that 75% of Black kids don't grow up without a father in the home. That's a hard pill to swallow because I know we can be better. We absolutely could be better. Somewhere along the lines, though, I feel that we've gotten away from having high standards for ourselves in general. I'm not just talking about the Black community, but I'm also talking about people in general. But as it relates to the Black community, that is something that it comes close to my heart because I want to see the next generation succeed. And as somebody who travels across the country, speaking to so many different schools and so many different kids and spending time in some of these urban communities where I talk to a lot of these kids who have every single one of them, not every single one of them, but like 90 to 99% of these kids have told me that they don't have a father in the home. That hurts me. I even use the example when I went to San Quentin prison about 4 or 5 months ago, and I talked to multiple African-American males in there. And when I talked to those guys, they were in there for murder. And when I asked them, did they have a father in their life? All of them told me no. So what they're talking about is not just theology. It's data, it's facts. I went out there and I've had the conversations, these tough conversations. So when Charlie Kirk says something like that, it sounds terrible. It's like, how could you be so crude to a culture like that? Yeah, if you don't want to listen to what he's saying, then it's going to come across as being crude, especially coming from a white male adult. Of course, it's going to sound like that. But as I start maturing as I got older, I start realizing, it's like, you know what? Maybe there is some truth here. Which is one of the reasons why, as I'm running for governor here in California, one of the initiatives I've been pushing is an initiative which Charlie Kirk was also talking about, which was focusing on the families. Why are we not putting programs in place to incentivize families to stay together? Why are we not putting programs in place to incentivize fathers to stay in the home? Right now in our country, we incentivize fathers to leave their kids. We incentivize women to go out there and get on government assistance so that way they can get more money from the system. We incentivize women to go out there and have abortions as opposed to incentivizing people to get married and have kids and do it the right way. We incentivize people to go out there and, rely on the government for all their assistance as opposed to working hard, getting an education or whatever it may be, and going out there and getting either starting a business or getting a job. We incentivize people to depend on the government for everything. Why are those bad things? And so when I started watching more of his videos, and not just his videos, but all sorts of different videos online, when I started doing my own research and start looking at my own historical data, I start realizing this information for myself. I did. And you can go down the line, down the rabbit hole, and look up historical data after data after data after data, and you'll start realizing like something did shift. In the 70s, man, Black families were staying together. Black families were thriving. They were killing it. I mean, you look at Oklahoma, all the Black Wall Street, we were doing phenomenal. And then the government stepped in and the government started creating all these different programs and incentivizing abortions, incentivizing, food stamps and EBT, and then start taking the father out of the home, and we start to see a demise to our own community. So when he says that African Americans, the rate is 75% that they don't have dads in the home, why is that wrong? It's not. It's not. But people will say that's racist. It's not racist. You see, we have to be able to step up as a community and start holding ourselves accountable and start saying, we can be better. I think all communities should be able to step up and say, how can we be better as a community? But not only that, take it a step further, take it beyond race. And I'm talking now to believers and Christians. We need to be better. We need to be held to a higher standard. We need to go out there and be unapologetic about speaking the gospel, about speaking truth. So this man was killed for speaking truth, and yet people want to call him a racist. And so what's interesting, as I was kind of just digesting all of this information and all the events over the past week, one of the things that I came upon, the revelations I came upon was this, is Martin Luther King, JFK, RFK, all these men died. Abraham Lincoln, all of them died, and they were assassinated, and they are known and recognized as heroes in our culture today. But during the time of their assassination, there was also a large group of people that also looked at them very similarly to how people are looking at Charlie Kirk. There were many people that hated Martin Luther King, many people that hated him. There were many people that hated JFK. There are many people that hated Abraham Lincoln. So anytime you are speaking up on truth, anytime you are trying to disrupt systems and make a society better, it's not necessarily that we're contending amongst ourselves. We are contending with a spiritual enemy who does not want to do that, a spiritual enemy that wants to continue to sow division. And they will parade it as if that the person that's actually trying to unify is the enemy, and he's not the enemy. So we have to be better. There's a couple other videos or one other video I want to show that really kind of resonated with me this week. And, I'm talking about the community. I saw this video today, and I think sometimes we get so focused on the past and the racism of the past and all these people that were doing this and that, and we lose track of what the future could look like. And I saw this video of this man that was talking about what his focus is. So let's watch that video, because I think it's all going to tie it all together.
Culture that pays more attention to the society that his ancestors endured than the one that his descendants will inhabit is in trouble, right? I got 3 kids. I'm raising my grandchildren's parents right now. So my vision, I'm pointing my scope downrange. I can't go back to my ancestors. I honor them, but I can't go back to them. So let me say what my vision for 2040 is for the black community.
Did you catch that he said he's raising his grandkids' parents right now? That is as forward thinking as you can think, believe or do. Like, I never even looked at it from that perspective. Like, I have, my kids are pretty young. I have a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 6-year-old. And we are so busy with the day-to-day between their sports, their school, our jobs, and everything else that sometimes it's hard to even think about or look towards tomorrow. But this man said, I am raising my grandkids' parents right now. And so that gives him a certain responsibility that he has to keep at the forefront of his mind to do it the right way. Let's continue to watch.
One is strong families. I'd love to see a situation where 80% of black kids are born to parents who are married, not conscious co-parenting, not child support court, none of that. Married. One man, one woman for one lifetime.
What's so interesting about that is it's almost identical to what Charlie Kirk said, just on the opposite end. Charlie Kirk described what the current problem was, which was 75% of black families don't have the father in the home. This man said that by 2040 or whatever year it was, he wants to see 80% of black families staying together. How is that bad? We're talking about doing better as a society, but yet because of who the messenger was, it was racist. This man said it, and it's a great message.
I'd like to see us return to the faith of our ancestors. People talk about reparations and all sorts of other stuff. The one thing that black folk today don't want to take from their ancestors is the faith that got them through slavery and segregation. I want to see.
If Charlie Kirk said it, it's racist. But this man says it, and it's real. It's real. Like, what he's saying is true. We are so focused on the past, but why are we not focused on the faith that God gives us today that we can use to get us and propel us to where we need to go?
I want to see not just making the bar in terms of education. I want black kids who feel they have just as much opportunity to become a nuclear physicist as they do to play in the NBA. I want to see entrepreneurship. We don't need more government. Please, not just black folk, but we as a country have been on that teat so long, we've never seen it engorge because it never gets time to fill back up. So, entrepreneurship, I want us to value life. And the last thing I'll say, I want us to have a positive culture. We should stop commodifying and glorifying black death, the degradation of black women, and drug use in our community. That's my vision for 2040.
All those things that he just mentioned, him, Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, Brandon Tatum, a lot of my friends, they've all talked about these things. But people don't want to hear these truths because of the way, we just don't want to acknowledge the fact that these are some struggles that we've had in our community. And the craziest part about it is that's how the system was actually set up. The system was actually set up to continue to sow more discourse and to continue to make us more victims of our own circumstances, as opposed to promoting us and putting us up on a pedestal to go out there and be successful. This man right here is talking about he wants to see more entrepreneurs. He wants to see the next generation not only just strive to be an athlete or whatever it may be, but to strive to be a professional and successful entrepreneur. That's really what we should be promoting. It really is. And so what this man just said and what he described is something I truly want to see for our next generation. I know we can do it. I love being African American. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love the fact that I come from a diverse background. I love the fact that I have certain qualities that other people don't have. I love that. But I know that we can do so much better as a community, and nobody should shun me for saying that. And nobody should shun Charlie Kirk, because when Charlie Kirk was saying it, he wasn't even just coming at one second, the population of the community. What he was doing was he was tying a lot of the systematic issues that we have, he was tying it back to how we even got here in the first place. So where do we go from here? What do we do? I believe we're already starting to see it. There is a revival occurring. We need to get back to old school principles, traditional principles, where we focus on the family. We focus on a nuclear family and raising these kids the proper way. We focus on spending time with them. We focus on showing them love and care and kindness. We also show them like, hey, look, you need to go out there and we need to teach them how to have grit, how to learn how to overcome adversities. And anytime somebody says something that they don't like, not to just back away or try to counsel that person. We need to live in a society where you can say what you need to say and still be able to walk away, at least being able to agree to disagree, or being able to walk away and have a changed perspective or perception about it. That's the society I would like to see us live in. But we can't keep going down this road where when somebody says something that you don't like to hear, all of a sudden they're a racist or a fascist or a bigot. It shouldn't be that way. I am strong enough in my own skin that even if a racist were to come to my face right now and tell me the most racial things or most derogatory things that they want to, I would still walk away with my chin held high and not even worried about them, because at the end of the day, I know who I am and I know who I'm created to be. And it shouldn't matter what other people think of me. Sometimes I think we get so caught up in what other people think about us or what they say about us that we forget that we were created in God's image and that we are created to do whatever we want to do. I have a shirt that I wear that says it says created for a purpose, and every single human being that lives on this earth was created for a divine purpose. So stop getting distracted on what everybody says about you, or what you think other people think about you, or what you think their agenda is towards you, and focus on what you're capable of doing, which is going out there being Christ-like and living a Christ-like mind or a Christ-based life. So anyways, I'm done with my rant. I thought these videos were very, very interesting, but it was good to see people coming to Christ. I think, let me see if I can find this one last video before we wrap it up, because yeah, here it is. I thought this was really cool because there is a positive thing happening right now. And so I'm gonna show you guys this one last video and then I'm gonna wrap it up.
Just like everybody else yesterday, I followed it. I had tickets to see Charlie October 29th at Ole Miss. I was really looking forward to it. I've been a lifelong atheist. I never believed in God, but I saw the joy that it brought to Charlie, and it brought me to God, and really moved me to see him. And I was looking forward to meeting him and telling him that you helped me find God, and I saw that peace that he had. And so I'm here today to celebrate his life and make sure that people don't forget how much of an impact he had for all of us.
I go back to the video of that pastor who was calling him a racist from the pulpit. If you are a man of Christ, a true man of Christ, somebody that's been empowered to speak the gospel, how could that man, that pastor, be so enraged over the life of Charlie Kirk when the death of this man has actually led this person to Christ? That is, if we want to talk about being a hero, that's what a true hero is like, man, like you're sowing kingdom deposits that are making a lastful impact. So obviously what he was doing did something strong enough and powerful enough to lead people back to Christ. And that's what it ultimately comes down to, right? So how do you, from the pulpit, say that this man is this and this man is that when we are seeing a revival happening across our country over the assassination of this man? I don't know. That right there is powerful, whether you like it or not, whether you agree or not. So I guess my final departing message is like, as people, we need to stop being so soft. Stop being so soft. If people are saying things that you don't necessarily like, as opposed to getting riled up because of the way they're saying it or because of what they look like and the person that's saying it, let's actually try to hear what they're saying first before we start being so contentious. And after all of that, if you still find yourself not agreeing with the message, just walk away and say, hey, I agree to disagree. No harm, no foul. There's a lot of people that I have in my life that I don't agree with. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be their public enemy number one. Trust me, there's a lot of people in my life that are very, very ignorant. Just don't know better. Don't know no better. But it doesn't necessarily mean I walk around with a chip on my shoulder and a grudge because of ignorant things they've said or things that they've done in the past. No, we got to learn to have grace and compassion for those. We really do, if we truly want to walk like Christ. And so it really irks my nerves to hear pastors from the pulpit spreading dissension like this pastor was, and then trying to call in the same breath say that Charlie Kirk was sowing dissension when he's doing the same thing from the pulpit. That's not our responsibility as pastors, and I'm saying that as an assistant pastor. It's not our responsibility, or it's not incumbent upon us to go into the pulpit and sow dissension from a place where people are looking towards us for direction from Christ. It's not our responsibility. So anyways, I hope you guys find value in these videos. If you guys like these videos, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Like always, make sure you guys turn on that notification bell so you guys get access to the latest videos that are popping up across our country. Throughout the week, I'll start getting back to doing more police breakdowns. Switch is around the corner, so make sure you guys stick around. If you guys haven't signed up yet, make sure you guys keep looking out for more information about that, because it's going to be a phenomenal episode. With that being said, I love you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care and God bless.